Welcome to the Future of Payroll and Workforce Management Insights by HR.com, your go-to resource for insights into payroll and workforce management. From navigating compliance and technology trends to exploring the latest in global payroll solutions, we're here to keep you ahead of the curve. Join us as we dive into the forces reshaping payroll and share practical strategies to optimize your workforce management. Let's get started. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Future of Payroll and Workforce Management, a podcast here at HR.com, where I am Executive Community Leader of Future of Payroll, and I do several other things, but enough about me. This is about my guest today, Celena White, who is a CPP and also a payroll consultant. Welcome, Celena, and I
Thank
think it's
you.
Cece for short, right?
Yes.
Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a real honor.
Oh yeah, well the honor is all mine. And I know we have a very interesting topic today. It's a theme we've been covering on the podcast and how people sort of stumble into payroll, or it's not necessarily something that people think about getting into. It's really interesting, and all the stories around that. But first, as I like to ask all my guests, and I will ask you, Cece, is,
Mhm.
what motivates you every day? What gets you out of bed and ripping and roaring to help people in the world of work and in payroll specifically?
My family. Hi, kids. uh, but yeah, my family. I have one wonderful husband, three children. My parents are still around. Thankfully, our kids get to see their grandparents every day. And so just being able to stay connected to my family, coming from a hard working class family, it's always driven me and been a motivator to get out of bed and keep things going.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. How heartwarming. That is really special for the grandparents to see the grandkids every day. That's really special. That's
Yes, it's
really
special and essential. It helps us, especially now in this world of remote work. We're able to kind of tie things together to make sure that we can focus on the task that we need to do, and still that the kids get that nurturing in that time.
yeah, yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, let's let's dive into it today. You
Okay.
had a really cool thing you said. And it really stuck with me, and it's going to stick with me forever now. When we were talking in the green room the other day, and kind of talking about, figuring out what are we going to do a podcast episode about exactly. And you said, you don't choose payroll, payroll chooses you. And I love that. I mean, it's cool. It's it's kind of has like a Hollywood film kind of feeling to it almost, right?
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, it does. It's like, this is a calling. It is kind of a calling. So, what do you mean by this? How did that play out in your own career journey? How did payroll choose you? You didn't choose payroll. How did it choose you?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but in my corner of the earth in the world, I've never heard of anyone like going to payroll school.
Yeah.
It's not a major that you can choose, anywhere within finance. It's not or HR even, or like uh you've got human resource management. You've even got, compensation that you can minor in. You have certain aspects of leadership, organizational theory. There is not a payroll degree out on the market. And sadly, it should be.
Yeah.
But that's why I say, how is it that everybody uses payroll, but there is no formal payroll school? Now, granted, when you get into, the crux, and there's organizations out there, you've got payroll, or you've got CIPP out on the European front, but you do not have like a formal pay there isn't a payroll degree that is taught at any university. So that's why I say, you kind of fall into it in some type of way. You get, identified, or you could be at the water cooler too long, and then you're snatched up and you're doing time cards. But it's not something that anybody goes out and, when I ask kids what do they want to be, I've heard a lot of things. I've heard, firefighters, I've heard princesses, I've heard, different executives, I've heard celebrities, athletes, the whole gamut. Never have I heard a kid or even a young adult say, I want to do payroll.
I hear princess a lot in my house and what they want to be. My two daughters, young daughters, they want to be princesses, and
Yes,
one might argue they are already. But
yes.
in any event, you're right about that. And even if somebody did say, "Hey, I
Mhm.
want to be a payroll professional when I grow up," there isn't, that you can't. Okay, I'm going to go to school for payroll. No, you go to school maybe for business, or you go to school for accounting, or something like that. There's no defined career path, and now you have a really interesting sort of origin story for yourself in terms of how payroll chose you, how you found yourself in payroll. It was an
Right.
interesting project that you found yourself involved in, and could you just share with our audience how that all went? How did that happen? Like what
Yeah.
went down?
So initially, I started out with an accounting background, working in banking and insurances. And when I returned back to Ohio, which is my home state, I started working for a small retail firm, family owned, had been in business for, well, now they are in business over 100 years.
Right.
And I was working in the accounting department. Work was slow, but they needed time cards. They needed someone to look through them. Have the they needed to have outputs so that way they knew what to pay. And we're talking at the time a weekly payroll of about 3,000 people, all manual time cards that then needed to be
What?
some needed to be corrected, but they all needed to make it into this payroll system, which was, a legacy system. And so it's all hands on deck. And again, I joke and jest about that water cooler joke, but it's like, oh, hey, now that you're hydrated, step on over, and the rest is history.
I, I love that. I mean, yeah, I can just imagine going through 3,000 time cards manually every pay
Mhm.
period. And, uh, payroll's come a long way, in terms of automation. Perish the thought, but some folks are still working in I like to call it the paperlithic era of payroll. It still exists for some small companies, but maybe they pull themselves out of it more quickly. Um, but that's just fascinating to me. And in it all, your story also gets into this idea that payroll is often sort of like a recurring emergency at organizations. It's like this
Yeah.
it's a fire alarm, that this fire drill that is played out every week, 2 weeks, or sometimes every month. um and that's really stressful. And you mentioned the water cooler, and I thought you were going to share this, and we've talked about this, and we probably were, so I'm sorry, I'm going to steal your thunder a little bit, but there's that joke out there that, hey, come on, just don't you guys just press a button and payroll
Oh,
happens. I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah, because I mean, 3,000 time cards go through each piece of paper. You can get that done in like 2 hours, right? You don't need the whole day to do that, and clearly there won't be any questions or anything of the like. And I think that is oftentimes a big misconception in the payroll world that, oh, all you have to do is press a button. Oh, it's so easy. Anybody can do it. It doesn't take any thought. You don't have to, really put any critical thinking into what you're doing. So you should be able to just get this done, press the button and let the money funnel drop down and all the dollars will be dispersed where they need to go. Like what could be causing you any type of stress right now, Brent? And that I think that's a big misconception that, when you start thinking about even if you have a payroll system and yeah, now things are much less manual and I'm so thankful to be several years into the future and I'm not stuffing checks by hand.
Yeah.
But, one of those things is that even when you have the best of the best shiny system, you got to remember it does not do everything for you. It's going to take forethought. And aside from that forethought, you also have to make sure that you're checking in with your system. You're always looking at things and making sure that they're fine tuned, that you're checking those rates, and that you're actually giving the maintenance that the system needs because it's not just a one and done and well Brent, we bought you a new system 4 years ago. What could you possibly need in your budget now?
Yeah.
So, those type of things is very important, and I like to spend a lot of time educating employers that these are things that consciously have to be considered, and it's not just you do it one time. It's just like anything else that kind of payroll is a plant. You've got to constantly water it. You've got to feed it the right nutrients, and it will flourish for you.
Payroll is a plant. That's a great quote right there,
Mhm.
Cece. I love that. Um, this is a good segue. So, payroll is more. It's often seen as just processing paychecks, but there's a lot to doing payroll. It's a multifaceted role. There are
Oh,
different
yeah.
roles, like sub roles within payroll. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that? What are some of the biggest misconceptions and opportunities you encounter or you've
Oh
noticed?
yeah. Anything from project management to time management and timekeeping with all of the changes to state laws and paid leave. That's a huge thing that needs to constantly have your eye on the ball as overtime rules can change and varying states have like they could be right next to each other and have vastly different interpretations of how overtime is interpreted for them and how it's paid within those particular states.
Yeah.
So you've got that. You've got the benefits administration piece. Some payroll professionals are a complete total rewards department and definitely shout out to those professionals who are acting as several departments of one or even just a payroll department of one. It's not for the faint of heart. And thank you to those warriors that are showing up day after day, even when nobody knows that you're doing it.
Those silent heroes, those silent heroes. And
Yes.
this is really interesting. If we think about, sort of advocating for payroll as an actual career. I mean, it
Hmm.
is a career, but advocating so folks know that it is an option, young people, that they understand that, hey, payroll is an option as a career. And look at that. It's not just processing paychecks. It's about all this stuff. Eh, eh,
Hmm.
how do we get that message out there besides doing podcasts?
Oh, I don't know if I am the one to answer that question because my track record has been pretty wild. We had a Christmas party at at one time when one of the kids were asked by Santa what they wanted to be when they grew up, and my son said, "I don't know, but I don't want to work in payroll." Because even then at that young age, it was recognized the late nights. sometimes, there would be things that would pop up at the office and it impacts a bank file that has to go out. So you've got to take that extra time to figure it out, or your tax documents need to go out. And like you said, sometimes payroll can be viewed as a fire drill, and nobody told us that a bonus was coming up and that we needed to have it out right away. So, all of those things happen, but it definitely is a career. There's suspense. Sometimes you get to be a detective and kind of figure out what
Yeah.
what those partners in other functions or departments really meant when they sent you certain documentation. Sometimes you've got to put on that lawyer hat and not only be able to interpret the different employment laws that are out there and state laws surrounding taxation and just HR functions and things for personnel, but you might also have to put those gloves on and be a bit of an attorney and advocate for your position. That full stop. This is not legal. This is what we need to do. This is how you know we should handle a particular situation. Yes, it is taxable, believe it or not. That's been one of those one of those biggest fights that I've had in my day.
Yeah.
You know, whether this simple gift card or trying to appreciate an employee. Can we not tax it this one time? What do we do? That's always a big one that comes up.
People always want to kind of, they think that it's easier to kind of, play a little bit of, skirt the rules a little bit. One thing that's really
Yes,
interesting though is that and this has come up repeatedly on the podcast, and thank you for sort of providing another really good example of it, just through what you're saying, is that, there's the bank file, something that has to be on the bank file because first you're dealing with people's pay.
yes.
People depend on their pay. It's just how it is. And
Mhm.
so there's a real calling to payroll. It takes a certain kind of person. You have to have very uh, high sense of responsibility and conscientiousness, and you need to be
Right.
dependable, and you
Right.
need to be very dedicated to
Yeah.
to the company. These are all
Yes.
really, really important aspects to the role. And so, and I can see that those higher callings being attractive to certain people who would want to be in payroll, and and I think it was your son, right? I think he may yet decide that he wants to be in payroll. Who knows? Uh, but
Well, I'm proud. I'm proud of all of them. Either way they decide to go, I'm really proud of everyone.
Of course. Of course you are. We talked a little bit the other day, and then maybe you could just touch on it a little bit here. Um so you've worked at both large enterprises and smaller firms. And how
Yes.
does the scope and how is payroll different at a large company versus a small company and at different kinds of companies?
Well, just like each person, we've all got our own different DNA. Every company is going to be unique, and now because I'm going to be the quote queen, I'm going to say size does not matter. I've seen companies that could be smaller in head count but have a ton of complexities.
Right.
And then I've seen companies that have 100,000 plus run like fine-tuned, well-oiled machines. And I think what it comes down to is understanding the policies, intelligence of the company's vision of what they want for those employees, having a strong mission statement, and accountability is always going to come into play because sometimes policies are made with the best intentions. And as we know in the payroll world, there's always an exception to the exception.
Mm.
How agile will you be to come up with the right solution for those things? But I would say what was a big game changer for me was stepping into the global space
Mm.
because normally when we're thinking stateside, the big draw is have you processed multiple states? Can you process for multiple jurisdictions? Yeah, after a while that gets to be easy, but when you start blending in the different countries and taking things global, that was my big introduction into shadow payrolls,
Mm.
hypothetical tax, and working with different vendors. I've been on both sides of the coin where there is a mobility department that can handle all of the heavy lifting. And then I've also had to be on the line with, our tax attorneys and getting like play by play, step by step. How are we going to handle this for this global assignment out in France?
Mm.
So I would say that was a real exciting thing, and working with the different vendors. A lot of times when you have the larger companies, more vendors come into play. You've got a guy for everything,
Mm.
so that can be exciting to just know that there are so many layers that can intertwine into a payroll. But then there are also times to where you have a smaller company. Let's say you're dealing with 50 to 100 employees. So now you've got to remember, you should be able to remember each name, each family.
Mm.
Then you kind of put on that therapist and that counselor hat because then you become the keeper of open enrollment and all of these tasks. It becomes more high touch. So I wouldn't say that there's, one over the other. It just depends on your personality and the challenge that you're looking for at that time.
Shadow payroll and hypothetical tax. That sounds that's more of that detective stuff that's
Yeah.
it's kind of intriguing, you know. It makes you want to maybe do a payroll run with somebody. You know. I,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I this has just been this is just a fascinating topic, speaking with folks and how they found themselves in payroll, and your story is just fascinating and really engaging, and I want to thank you for all the information and that you shared with our audience today, and it's been a real pleasure speaking with you on the podcast, Cece.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Brad. I've really enjoyed this.
Thanks for tuning in to the Future of Workforce Management and Payroll Insights by HR.com. We hope today's episode brought you valuable insights and fresh perspectives on the future of payroll and workforce management. Be sure to check out more episodes and explore resources at hr.com/podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, keep innovating and making a difference in the world of payroll and workforce management.